Hi guys, when it comes to Brexit, the responsibility for avoiding the worst of it in Tory brexiteers' eyes is that British businesses need to adapt and they need to innovate. When it comes to public health, it seems the Tory government wants to offload responsibility onto the public. Here Tory MP Steve Brine, who is either Fool of the Week or Hunt of the Month, I'm not sure yet, blamed the British people because the UK fared so badly during the pandemic. Nothing to do with Boris Johnson's government. No. All down to the people. What a ghoul.
And I was the public health minister. One of the reasons why we fared badly in the pandemic is because we are unhealthy as a nation. We are too big. A child obesity.
It's people's fault.
The child obesity plan that I wrote. A lot of that was not implemented, and I think government
still hasn't.
And it still hasn't been. I have been very publicly critical of the chair of the health committee.
Conservative
That we should have implemented some of the policies around the obesity program, for instance.
But you didn't. Why didn't you? You had an 80-seat majority and you didn't implement these policies. What was stopping you? Now, once again, like Brexit, like the NHS, like any issue, the economy, they always blame somebody else. It's never our fault. It's always somebody else's fault. I think it was back in 2016 when exercise sickness was put into, well, it was run, and a report came out of it that said, well, you need to upgrade PPE. That was part of the report because some of the PPE was not fit for purpose and some of it was out of date. And what did the British government do at the time, the Tory government do at the time? They ignored the report. And then when the pandemic arrived, was there sufficient PPE? Of course there wasn't. Was the PPE that was available fit for purpose? Of course it wasn't. And that resulted in doctors, nurses and carers wearing bin liners. But it's always somebody else's fault. And where was Boris Johnson? Well, if he wasn't telling people to take it on the chin, he was avoiding COBRA meetings with experts who were there to tell him what to do, give him professional advice on how to deal with this pandemic that was spreading across Europe at the time. And Boris Johnson couldn't be bothered to turn up. But it's always somebody else's fault. And then finally to this point about, well, people are too big. Why is there an obesity crisis? Could it be that because of austerity and Brexit to a certain extent, but austerity and other Tory policies, that people are getting poorer? People are having to decide between heating and eating or paying the rent and feeding themselves. And if your choice is, well, I have to pay the bills or buy food, well, people are going to cut back on food because you can't cut back on bills. If you don't pay the bills, you're going to have it cut off. If you don't pay your rent, you're going to be made homeless. So you have to cut back somewhere. So people are cutting back on food. And they're buying cheaper food. Food that is full of sugar or salt or fat, which is making them obese. People have less time to spend doing sports or doing activities, physical exercise, because they're working every hour in order to pay the bills. Because of Tory austerity and because of Tory policies, including Brexit. But it's always their fault, never our fault. When was the last time you heard a Tory MP stand up and say, actually, we made a mistake. Actually, this is on us. We were wrong. Never. They will never admit a mistake. They will never admit when they were wrong. It will always be somebody else. And this is why this guy is a ghoul. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.